Hello, everyone. So, thank you so much for joining us at this webinar where we are talking you through how to enter the World Illustration Awards. So, we are the World Illustration Awards, and we present the awards annually, and it's hosted in partnership with the Association of Illustrators, the AY, in partnership with the Directory of Illustration in the USA. We are celebrating great illustration from across the globe, across 10 categories that showcase the breadth and diversity of illustration being created today. In this webinar, we will guide you through the entry process for this year's awards, and there will be time for questions at the end. And you can always find out more about the awards at worldillustrationawards.com and follow us on Instagram at World Illustration Awards. So, who can enter? Illustrators. So that can be individuals or collectives. We often have people entering as collectives or duos, and you just need to make sure you include both of your names or the name of the collective in your artist name when you're entering. Agents can also enter their artist's work. Tutors and colleges can enter their students' work. And commissioners can enter the illustrator's work that they commissioned for certain projects. So what can you enter? We honestly welcome any illustration on any theme or in any style. There's no limit to the type of illustration you can enter. And you can enter as many projects as you like. You just need to create separate entries for each of them. And you can enter still images, animated GIFs, or longer animated moving image entries using the URL fields on the form. So that would be linking to a Vimeo or a YouTube video. When can you enter? So the deadline is Tuesday, the 17th of February, 2026, at the end of the day in your time zone. We don't close the form immediately, so if you do encounter any issues on the very last day, we will make sure you can still enter. But in general, please don't leave it to the last minute. It is extremely busy on our website around deadline days, so the earlier you can enter, the better. And that's what we're here to help you, to walk you through and how to do your entry. And entries can be edited after payment is made until we close the entry form. So up until that deadline day, you will be able to edit your entry. Why should you enter? There's so many opportunities and benefits for illustrators entering the awards, including support on how to promote your entry, exposure, becoming part of a network of global illustrators. And there's also some amazing awards and prizes on offer, whether that's cash prizes for our overall winners or specific prizes from our sponsors and their cross-category awards. There's all sorts of exciting things to be gained. And your work's likely to be seen by commissioners worldwide. We have 30 judges across all our 10 categories. You'll be showcased in our online galleries and may also be part of the global touring exhibition. This is all part of what we do for entrants.
I think that's a really good point, Helen. As you were mentioning about how much we do for everyone that enters, maybe you've entered before and you know this, or maybe it's your first time, which is really exciting. But I think what sets the World Illustration Awards apart is really this sense of community. As illustrators, we all know how hard it can be sometimes, feeling like you're on your own in this. Our job is to make you feel like you're part of this community when you enter. So we support you right from the call for entries all the way up into the awards night. So we have some self-promotion events and webinars. We have some shortlist showcases. We give you loads of opportunities to share your work, but also get to meet one another. So it really feels like you're part of a community. And you don't have to just take our word from it. We've got some lovely quotes on the screen here. So this is Fang Fan Han, who was our SAA New Talent winner 2024. And I really love what she says here. Winning is wonderful, but even if you don't, the experience of sharing your work and connecting with others, other creative practitioners is invaluable. So yeah, really, really nice quote to highlight there.
Yes, and even if you aren't a winner, being shortlisted still brings lots of opportunities, as we have another one of our shortlisted artists saying here. So it's all about encouraging you to share your work, share it to a new audience, and keep evolving as an illustrator. And that's what the awards is brilliant for. So we're now going to talk you through how to enter and all the steps that you will need to follow to sorry, just yeah, can you still see the presentation?
So we can see the presentation, but slightly smaller on the screen.
Okay.
So
Sorry, I'm
on
having
screen
issues
now.
with seeing what I can see. Okay. So can you see how to enter?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So step one is to register an account on the AOI website. So worldillustrationawards.com is where you'll find all the information you need, but your actual entry when you're ready to make it will be at the aoi.com/worldillustrationawards/enter. So you will need to create an account with a username and a login password. So when you register, the website will auto-generate a password to log in, and that will be emailed to you, and you can change that if you wish. You need to keep your login details safe, and you will need them again to see the outcome of your entries. So if you already have an account, perhaps you're an AOI member, you might have a folio, or you've entered in the last 5 years, please log in using your existing details. This is especially important to access the AOI member discount, which is automatically applied to everything that's in your cart. So if you're an AOI member, you do still receive a 20% discount up until the final deadline. So this is what it will look like when you land on the AOI website. You'll see a request to register where you add your email and an automatic password is generated. And then once you have your email and password, each time you log in, you just add your email and password on the right, on the area on the right of the screen that shows you where to log in. And if you lost your password, you can send an email to do this. But if you're having issues with your password, you can also email us at awards@theaoi.com and we can help you with that as well and send you a password reset. So when you're adding your entry details, you will be asked to add your artist name. So this may just be your first name, last name, but you may have a different name that you trade under as an artist. So this is where you would enter those details if you don't want to add your given name. You will select whether you're entering your own work or the work of someone else. So perhaps you're an agent or a tutor. You would choose a different option there. You then do add in your actual first name and last name, which will also keep on file for reference. But your project will be listed under your artist name, not your first name and last name. So you will then need to make sure you read the terms and conditions to make sure that when you enter, you agree to abide by the rules, and as does the AOI who hosts the awards. And you'll be prompted to confirm you've read them when you submit your entry. And there will be a link to the terms and conditions in the entry form. You can also find out more about the awards at worldillustrationawards.com/about WIA. So step 3 is deciding which projects to enter. We're looking for work which is technically excellent, communicates its idea or message brilliantly, and explores illustration as an art form. Work can be created in any medium or style, including animations or GIFs. You can enter as many projects as you like into any category, so you might want to enter it into more than one category. Work can be commissioned or uncommissioned, so it can be personal projects as well. You can either enter a single image, or in a multiple entry, you can enter several images or elements as well as animations via URLs and GIFs. You want to make sure that you're showing your project off at its best.
And
And
yeah, this can always be a really difficult part of deciding what projects to enter, what piece out of your whole portfolio do you feel like stands out? And I think, as Helen said, what's a really nice way of thinking about what to enter is, what do you, as an illustrator, want to be known for? What do you want people to think, oh, wow, I would love to commission them for a similar project? So Helen mentioned that you can enter uncommissioned project and commissioned projects, which is what's really nice. So maybe there's an area of illustration that you really want to stand out in and be known for. This is a great chance to maybe enter that self-initiated project that you're working on. It's really about championing the work that you feel like reflects you and showcases the talent that you have.
I think the other thing I've always said is you want to enter the work that you're most proud of. So what's your absolute favorite project that you produced in the last year? That's always a great starting point. If you have something you're super proud of, that's the project you should be entering. And just a reminder that your work must have been worked on, completed, or published since January 2025. So do make sure it's a very current, recent project. So we've got a few examples here of what type of work to enter. So we've got projects that are animated GIFs on the left. We've got an excerpt from an animation project that was stop motion animation. We've got a site-specific mural project on that stairwell. And we also have a publishing project showing page spreads from a book that the project was published in. So you can enter work that uses any material, format, or style. So it doesn't have to be digital. It can be any analog material that you want to experiment with. We really encourage all sorts of animations. We even have people entering ceramic projects that they've illustrated onto, for example.
Yeah, it's always so fun to see how much variety there is within the illustration industry, and that is showcased through the projects that come in. So, as Helen said, there's a real mixture of stuff, and it's really nice to see, tactile mediums like stop motion, huge scale, site-specific projects, and digital animations, projects, illustrations as well. So, everything is welcome. It's really, really nice to see how varied everything is.
Exactly. And so these are some examples from previous years, but if you want to check out all of the shortlisted projects and long-listed projects even, so that's 500 projects per year across all 10 categories. There's tons and tons of things to inspire you. You can go to worldillustrationawards.com/projects and then filter by the year that you're interested in looking at and filter by the category that you want to enter. And that will give you loads of inspiration and ideas.
Yeah, so which category to enter? This is always a really tricky part in terms of, okay, what category should I enter? What project fits best? So really have a look and think about how your project was used. So you could think about, the use that it was used for. So was it a billboard? Was it a leaflet? Have a think about how your project was used, and this will help you pick your category. Again, as I said earlier, keep in mind how you want to position yourself as an illustrator. Do you want to be known in the science and technology illustration world? Maybe that means that you should enter that category if that project is fitting. Think about how, as I said, the application is used, and you can also enter the same project in different categories. You will need to upload and pay for a separate entry, but if you want to enter multiple categories, you are more than welcome to do so. And again, the same goes for this can be commissioned and uncommissioned work. So we have, as I said, a whole list of categories. So we've got advertising. So this is illustration created for commercial advertising. So again, that's billboards, TV commercials, magazine print ads. We've got animation, all things moving image, book covers, children's publishing as well, design, product and packaging. So, those are things like branding, product design, stationery, record sleeves, also editorials. So again, that's anything used for journalism. That can be digital or print articles. Books and beyond. So that's our publishing category. Science and technology, as I previously mentioned, site specific, so large scale murals, things existing in public spaces, and exploration. So maybe there's a project that doesn't fit under any of those. You're exploring a new medium, it's personal work that you think doesn't fit under there, and it's just something to develop your portfolio. That's also a category as well that you can apply into. But yes, I realize that's a lot of categories and a lot of information. So, as Helen has already said, all of this is also on our website where we've got a breakdown of each of the categories. We've also got examples of previous entries' work and how they have shared their work in that category. So, that's really, really useful to check out.
You just go to worldillustrationawards.com/categories to explore all 10 categories and what types of projects would fit into each category.
Yes, so formatting your images. So again, just to caveat this as well, all of this information is also on the terms and conditions on our website. So if you want to review back to this, obviously you can watch back the webinar, but you can also have a look here. So ensure you choose the best quality images to show off your work. This goes without saying. But in terms of the formatting, these will need to be in RGB files. So these can be in the following formats. So JPEG, PNG, or GIF, they are all accepted. So animated GIFs will work in the form as well. In terms of sizing, just make sure these aren't too big file size wise. So they need to be under 4 MB and up to 3000 pixels wide at 72 dpi. So again, all of this information is on the website, so you can refer back to it when you are editing your entry. Also, when you're editing your entry, just make sure you make your file names relevant to your project. So not final design entry. I'm guilty of doing that when I'm saving things down, but make sure just before you submit it, you save it with the artist name, the title, and image one if you're submitting for a single entry, or image two, image three, and so on if you're applying for a multiple entry. And be careful of those special characters. In terms of, making sure that they don't contain any. Sometimes that can be a slight issue with uploading things to the form. So yeah, if you're having any issues, maybe take out some of those special characters, and that might be a reason that the image isn't uploading. And choosing your image. So again, this is kind of hard in terms of picking which image you want to choose because you're thinking, okay, what's going to showcase a project the best? What I would say is best to do is, again, pick an image that really showcases the amazing talent of the illustration work that you're making, but also the context as well. If you are wanting to submit a project that has slightly more context and is slightly more varied in terms of you want to share close-ups of the project, you want to share how it's using context, you want to share just more information, that could be a multiple entry. So we discussed this earlier, but we can either have a single entry, which is one image, or you can have a multiple entry, which is multiple images. This can also include composite images. So all the children's book artists, this looking at you in terms of if you want to share multiple spreads, you can do that through a composite image. But yeah, really think about how the image is photographed. For example, if you've got a site-specific project, how can you showcase the context? And also thinking about what best showcases what the project is and the style of your work and how it can be shown.
Okay, so you've got your images ready, you started filling in the form. So you're going to prepare the rest of your entry information. So you need to decide if you're entering as new talent or professional. You only would select new talent if you're currently a BA student or a very recent graduate or self-taught. So if you've graduated since January 2025 and haven't really worked in illustration. So if you've had less than a year's work in illustration, or haven't had any paid work in the illustration industry, then you would enter as new talent. But everyone else should enter as professional. So you want to decide what format to use. So you can choose, as Beth has been saying, you can choose to do a single entry with single image or a multiple entry with up to 5 images and links. So you can do still images, animated GIFs, or animation links to YouTube or Vimeo. So you can do a combination of files. And every entry must include a hero lead image from the project. This is the first image that judges see, so do make it sure it's really strong and showcases your project as best it can. So here's an example of a multiple entry that had a few different images to showcase a product. I think this was a self-initiated portfolio project for this illustrator, but I think they were selected either for the long list or short list last year. So it was a packaging design project, and I think they did it in response to a sort of pretend brief in a portfolio a group that they were part of. So they showed examples of the packaging design on actual packaging in mock-ups. So mock-ups are really handy if you haven't got, if the product wasn't created in real life, you can do a mock-up instead, which has been done here really effectively. And then they've also showed the flat lay of their illustration as well. So they've shown it in lots of different contexts on lots of different colored backgrounds, which really helps showcase it from in lots of different ways. And here we have a children's book illustration. As Beth was saying, this is a great one to do as a multiple entry. So you can include the front cover and then a few different layouts from the inside of the book. And this is an example of a site-specific project that was shown with lots of different images. So you've got images of the murals from lots of different angles, as well as the original illustration design. And then you can see how it was applied in the space that it was commissioned to be painted into. So you're also going to be preparing the text to go with your images. So you might want to prepare all of this in a separate Word document, perhaps, before you go in to apply within the entry form. So you have it all ready to go and you don't lose your information if the entry form has any issues. So you make sure you've got the title of your work, but keep it precise and short. Don't put it in quote or speech marks. Don't include your name and don't just put it all in capitals if possible. You want to tell us why you created the work. So this could be the reason you made the work or the brief that you were given by a commissioner or a creative challenge that you set for yourself. We also want you to tell us how your illustrations were used. So what's the intended use of the illustration? Was it a book cover, an advertising campaign, a portfolio project, packaging, a mural, etc. And also we want you to tell us what materials and techniques did you use? This is always so interesting to find out how the illustration was made. So it's an opportunity to include information about the techniques, the materials, or the processes that you use to create the illustration. And always proofread your entry to make sure it's super clear for the jury. And maybe if English isn't your first language, you could ask a friend to check it for you as well. The thing to remember is the judges will only see your image and the description of your project and your title of the project. They won't see your artist name because it's kept anonymous as much as possible. So you want this first introduction to your project to be really clear and really interesting for our judges to understand why you made your project. And when you're filling in the form, when you're ready and you've got all your information ready, please note we can only accept entries with English information, but you may put the title in another language if that's relevant. You can edit the information for your project by clicking edit next to your entry when you're logged in on the website. And this can also be done after you've paid, right up until the deadline on the 17th of February. Entries that have not been paid for will stay in your account until you delete them. You can submit the form with draft info and images and come back and edit it later if you need to. So if you know you want to pay for an entry now, have it paid for and then come back to it if you're in the middle of the project and you just want to finish some elements, you can upload a dummy image or dummy text and then come back and edit it later. You can also put something in, you need to put something in all of the fields though if you want to save it and submit the form. But you can go back and change those and edit them until we close the form at the deadline day. And it can be helpful to type out your entry into a Word document, as I mentioned, and then paste it into the entry form. So this is another quick look at the entry form as we showed earlier. So it starts with artist name, then you confirm whether you're entering your own work or someone else's, your first name, your last name, etc. And then the next step is to pay for your entries. So when you've completed the form, you click submit. When you're ready to pay, you click pay now, which is next to your entry, as you can see there on the right. And when you click pay now, a blue box will appear at the bottom of the form. and you want to click View Basket. Then you go to the basket and select your currency, which is pounds, euros, or dollars. And then AOI members will be getting their 20% discount on any number of entries that they enter, and that will be automatically applied at the checkout. So you don't need to enter any codes or discount information. So long as you're logged in as a member, you'll get that discount. When you have confirmed everything in the basket and you're ready to pay, you click Proceed to checkout, and then you complete the payment form. So you should be able to pay via credit and debit card, via PayPal, or you can log into your PayPal account, but you don't have to have a PayPal account to pay for your entry. So if you are having issues paying via PayPal or that portal, we know that PayPal is restricted in a couple of countries around the world. So we know that you can't physically pay through PayPal. So we can arrange other ways for you to pay if necessary. But for the most part, everyone should be able to pay via the PayPal portal using a credit or debit card or their PayPal account. And as you can imagine, only paid for entries are considered for the competition. So do make sure you pay for your entry to include it in the competition. So this is a little close-up of what you'll see when you've prepared your entries. So you click Pay Now and then View Basket to get to the checkout. This is what the checkout looks like. It will show any discounts as well, if those are applicable. And then you click Proceed to checkout. Once you've selected your currency, and then this is what the portal for PayPal will look like as well. We'll also be sending some information on how to pay step by step. If that's something you're having challenges with, we'll be showing that when we send the recording out as well. And when you've paid for your entry, you'll receive an email confirming your successful entry, and that will come from info@aoi.com, and you'll be informed on the outcome of your entry via our newsletter on MailChimp. So make sure that you don't unsubscribe from MailChimp in the meantime, so that you can get all of our updates on that platform. And finally, Beth is going to talk about how to share your entry.
Yes, so in terms of now you've gone through the process of paying for your entry and you're done, your work is out there. One thing I will just say as well is you can't win if you don't enter. So hopefully, if you're on the fence at the moment, hopefully this has inspired you to go for it and put your work out there. And once you have entered, we will be sending through some assets for you to share that you have entered WIA. So you can share that on your socials. We are sharing your projects on our social pages as well. So sharing all the amazing entries that are coming in. It's really, really exciting to get to see them. So we'll be sharing those on our social pages as well as our newsletter. And yeah, make sure that you tag us so that we can see them, and, give some context about your project. It's always really, really nice for us to see. As I said, we'll be doing our best to share the projects as they come in.
Fantastic. So what happens next? So all entries are presented to a jury to review, and the judges' votes, when they're completed, will select a long list of 500 projects from the total entries. Then and the long list will be announced in May. The shortlisted projects of 200 from those 500 projects are then selected. And then the shortlist is announced in July. And then the winners and highly commended are selected from the shortlisted projects, and those are announced in September. So with this timeline in mind, you'll get a notification in your account of the outcome of your entries in May this year. And if you are longlisted, you will receive an email from us letting you know what to do next.
And it's just worth saying as well, if you want to sign up to our newsletter, you won't miss any of the updates that we have. So when we are sharing the long list, if you want to sign up to any of the webinars that we've got coming up, make sure you sign up to the newsletter, which we can share a link to, and you won't miss anything that we've got coming up.
So now we're putting it to the floor. If you have any questions, please do pop them in the chat and we will do our best to answer them. We have limited time before we can answer every question, but if you have any extra questions, please let us know. So we have one from Kimberly. Um, she has a published book project that she wants to enter, but it doesn't fit into any of the categories. It's a book about the history of a location, multi-generation appeal, not children's book, and not non-fiction.
Yeah, so I saw this question, and Kimberly, we also have a publishing category. So this is any books that are created for 16 years and older. So maybe it's not a children's book. This includes interactive books, reference books, both works of fiction and non-fiction, graphic novels, handmade
Yes, excuse me.
books. Oh,
Um, I'm sorry. I'm listening here. I have my camera off because I'm working while I listen. The thing is, it's for children to adults. That's really it's very multi-generational. So it doesn't fit in only the 16 and up category
I
either.
think you could still comfortably enter it into the publishing category
Okay,
despite
good.
the age ranges. I think because it's an all-encompassing book that covers lots of different things, you can
And
comfortably enter it into
it's
publishing.
fiction with nonfiction, and
Yes,
it's
that's
really
fine.
nice.
It would still be entered into publishing.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
that's okay.
Okay. So do we have any others? Um, so yeah, and you also asked entering multiple times. So you can create multiple entries and then pay for them all at once if you want to. So you can enter more than one project across more than one entry. And then you can choose to pay for them all in one go if you wish, or you can pay for them one by one. But plenty of people do enter more than one project and pay for them in one go. So that is definitely an option when you're paying. So Kilu has asked, can the same work be submitted into different categories? Is it better to submit different works to each category as much as possible? So we do often have people entering into the same project into different categories. We have an illustrator called Jennifer N.R. Smith who creates non-fiction illustrated books for children, and she has entered, and her work is normally inspired by the natural world. So in previous years, she's entered that same book into children's publishing, book covers, and science and technology, for example. So absolutely, you can definitely enter the same project into multiple categories, and it will definitely give you more of an opportunity for your work to be seen by more of the judges, and there's more chance to perhaps be selected for the long list or the short list. So we would recommend that if you think your work would work in multiple categories and you want it to be seen by more of the judges.
Just seen a question come in from Joanna. I illustrated a book as part of my dissertation project. Can I submit it? So if it's a project that you created as part of your university course, you can submit that. If it was created within the timelines that we were saying, so after January 2025. So yeah, you're welcome to submit work. If you are currently studying, you would be, I guess, classed as new talent in this case.
Yeah. And then we have a question from Liz. I have a jigsaw design illustration I'd like to submit, but the name and logo of the puzzle is on the box. Was designed by the manufacturer. Should I include the credit to them in the text and images or just in the text? So you can, yeah, I mean, this often happens with various projects, that particularly the design project, product and packaging category, which I assume you would be entering this project into. So you can include the fact that they have their own logo in your image. But yes, if you were commissioned by the manufacturer, then you would include that as your commissioner. Or perhaps if they weren't the commissioner, then you would include the manufacturer details in your about this project section of the form. So we would encourage you to reference them, particularly if their logo is clearly visible on the illustrated project.
And I've just seen a question from Julia about pricing in terms of single entry versus multiple entry. So a single entry is £34 and a multiple entry is £53 per entry.
and you get that discount of 20% if you're an AOI member. So if you're on the fence about being a member, now's the time to join so you can get that discount for your entry. So Karina has asked if the content will be available in a translatable format. So everything on our website, you can take that text and translate it. We may be able to share the transcript of this Zoom recording potentially, so we will look into whether we can do that as well. But I appreciate it is a lot to follow when English may not be your first language. So we will see if we can share that. But either way, you will find everything you need on our website. Everything we've talked about today is already on our website and easy to find on our FAQ page or the guide to entering page.
There is also a video as well of a guide to entry where we walk you through the process from uploading all the way through to the end of paying for the entry. So if you need more assistance and guidance, that is also there for you as well.
Yes, that's hosted on our YouTube platform and is linked on our website. So Joanna has asked, she's illustrated a book for her dissertation project. Can she submit it? It's in Greek. Should it be translated to English? No, you don't need to translate the book, but you do need to make sure your entry information is in English. So the description of the project, the information about the materials you used, etc. But if it was a dissertation project, yes, absolutely. If it was created in the last year, since January 2025, you absolutely can submit it. And we often have entries submitted, books, for example, that are written in other languages, they are still submitted, but the book isn't translated. The imagery, the printed text is not translated. It's simply the entry information that you give us just needs to be in English.
And I've just seen a question about submitting in multiple categories. Do you need to pay for each category again? So as we were saying, if you want to enter to multiple categories, as Helen was saying, you're welcome to do so. However, you will need to pay for each entry that you enter into each category.
Yeah, exactly. So Anna Lucia has asked if she's entering the cover of the book, should she include her name or not? It doesn't, we do have this happen sometimes where your name may be featured on the front of a book cover. And although we try and make most of the entries anonymous when our judges are viewing them, that's not always possible. So I don't feel that you need to remove your name if it's printed on the cover of a book. So yeah, we appreciate the book covers may include your details, and that's okay, and you can still enter them.
Just seen a question from Kilu as well, how they've created a series of hand-drawn illustrations created for themselves, not intended for advertising or publication. Which category should I submit? This sounds like it could be a good fit for exploration, as we were saying. This is a category that really champions working in different mediums and also self-initiated projects. So this could be a good fit. If it's got a certain context, so for example, if it was around science and technology, this could also be a fit for that category. Think about how your work is used and what the subject matter is, and if it fits, and if not, exploration is always a good fit for those kind of projects.
Elsa's just asked again, only work published after January 2025 can be entered. So yes, anything that work that is completed, worked on or published since 2025 can be entered into the competition. Okay. Yeah, I think we've already answered Stefania's question. So yes, if you want to enter into multiple categories, you need to do 1, 2, 3 entries for 3 different categories, for example. So yes, you can only ever enter to 1 category per entry, for example. So Maria is saying if she graduated in 2022 but hasn't done any work as an illustrator since, if you haven't done any paid work, you should still be able to enter as new talent if you haven't been working as a professional illustrator since that date. you could still enter as new talent. But you also want to think about how you want to be perceived in the industry. Do you see yourself as a professional illustrator at this stage, or do you still see yourself as new and emerging? Therefore, that's where new talent would make sense.
And just kind of to caveat that in terms of new talent, you also don't have to have studied, or if anyone else is thinking of entering new talent, you don't have to have studied illustration or have graduated uni. You can also be looking to break into the industry. And if you've got less than a year's experience as an illustrator, as a practicing illustrator, whether that's that you've been commissioned or not, but if you have been practicing for over a year, then yeah, we tend to say that is more, as Helen was saying, positioned as a professional illustrator.
Okay, so Naomi has asked, I started a project capturing neighbourhoods last year, planning to expand it to different neighbourhoods. If I submit my neighbourhood project from last year, continue to evolve the project in coming years, can I submit a similar project in the future? Or is it better to wait to show how the project has evolved over the years? I think if each year feels like a standalone project and you feel comfortable submitting it, I would not necessarily wait for a number of years before submitting it. It sounds like a really interesting project, and it sounds like you may not be able to really do a multi-year project justice in one entry. So I think it would make sense to enter last year's iteration of that project, and then in subsequent years you could enter the new versions of it as it evolves. So I think that's all of the questions that we've had. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Thank you everyone so much for joining us today and for all of your questions. I hope we've been able to answer as many as possible. If you still have any questions, please email us at awards@theaoi.com. That's the best place to ask us anything. Please don't DM us on Instagram. We don't always see all the messages. So emailing us is always the best thing. The whole team can see our email inbox. So we'll always keep an eye out for any questions, and we'll be able to come back to you with all the information that you might need. And we'll be sharing the recording for this webinar very soon. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm just going to stop the recording.